Hey, you guys, Devon Alexander, three-time world champion. You guys are listening to Championship on the Line podcast with my man Rich and Alex. Check them out.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Alex, and this is the Championship on the Line podcast, and this is the episode number 3 of Knockout. And my co-host is Richard. And today we have a special guest here tonight. We have a former 2-division world champion, the best uppercut in the game, Devon Alexander the Great. Thank you so much for being here, Devon. We really appreciate it.
That's absolutely no problem. Thanks for having me, my man.
Yeah, man. So how's life going since COVID and everything? How's the life in St. Louis?
COVID has been a pain in my ass. It's been crazy. You know, I was scheduled to fight 2 times during this pandemic, and both been canceled. So, you know, it's been a pain. But I'm constantly working. I'm always in the gym. I'm always running. So I'm staying in shape. You know, I guess it's part of life. I guess the virus will be here for another couple months. So I can't do nothing about that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the videos of you on Instagram, man. You're looking freaking sharp, man. Your speed is still there. I mean, you're looking really good, man. Great shape.
I feel good. I feel good, man. You know, as you guys know, I don't know if you guys know, but I just signed a 3-fight deal.
Yeah, I heard about that.
With my man Al, so with PBC. So I'm excited about that. And you know, I'm just excited to show people my new arsenal that I'm working on.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, congratulations on the new deal with the PBC. So, is there any fights, anything scheduled so far?
Well, I talked to my promoter today, and they got an opponent that agreed to the terms. So you guys should be hearing something within a week or so. I can't reveal the name yet until they give me the go, but
okay.
He did agree to the terms, so you guys will be hearing about it very soon.
Oh, nice. And then what date would that be? Would that be next year?
That'll be next year sometimes. We need a full 9 weeks to go and get ready all the way on point. So it should be towards the end of January, early February. Hope if all goes well, you know, like with the last opponent, you know, the venue, somebody had caught the virus, so that had to get canceled. So hopefully, if everything goes smooth, you know, nobody tests positive for COVID, we should be in the ring into January, early February.
Oh, awesome. I can't wait to hear the fight. I mean, I've been a fan since when you fought Urango. And, yeah. Because I remember I believe that was your first title defense. And I remember,
yes.
And I remember watching because, yeah,
first title defense and unification.
Yes.
So you know, everybody. I remember in that fight, everybody was counting me out too. They was like, "Man, Urangos is tough. I want to see how Dev's going to do against this hard-hitting Colombian."
Yeah. Yeah, because I believe you had the WBC and he had the IBF, and.
Yes.
And I remember watching, I believe it was like Boxing After Dark, and I was like a little kid watching it, and I was like, whoa, like who's this man? Like Devon Alexander. I was like, geez, man.
Yeah.
Like, and you stopped him.
I think a lot of people recognized me after that one. That was a good win for me. And people still play that fight to this day, you know, so it was a good execution of boxing, the boxer punchers.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Definition.
And then, like, one thing when I tell, like, my friends and, like, when I'm talking to my friends about you is, like, you could pretty much do everything. Like, you could box, and if you want to be a brawler, you could be aggressive, too. And then, plus, you're a southpaw, which makes it dangerous. Yes. And when I saw when you... Go ahead.
It's hard to fight a guy who's fast and hitting hard. That's
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's a hell of a combination, you know. And can you imagine fighting, you know, just saying based off you coming off or you fighting somebody in the street and you find out this guy is fast and hard. You don't want to deal with none of that. None of that at all. So that's a hell of a combination to have.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Because like when I saw that fight, you're like, I believe Urango had never been stopped, I believe, and then you stopped him, and you just made him look, he was just defeated that night. So like I became a fan, and I've been watching like every fight since that fight. So it's been really cool and exciting to like watch your career. And
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate the support. I want to take the time out to, say that it's a lot of fighters. Boxing is the only sport that a lot of the fighters get forgotten.
mm-hmm.
You'll be amazed how many fighters that's still living that's not in the spotlight, but everybody's forgotten. The boxing world forgot, I think that'd be a good show for you guys to just, interview some former champions or people that just forgot about them,
Yeah.
and don't even care about, but they did a lot for the sport. So, I just want to take the time to give him a shout out for all the fighters who don't get the recognition, who people forgot about, who, did some things in the sport that's the reason why I'm here. So I want to shout them out real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
I try to do that, in every one of my interviews because, I don't want to be forgotten. The new up-and-comers come, and, after 10 years, you're tired to forget all about you and what you did for the sport. So I want to, get him a shout-out and let them know that, people are thinking about him.
No, absolutely. I mean, especially when I started watching boxing as a kid, I'm always going to remember you. Because a lot of people don't remember, like, a lot of people don't know when I tell people, like, you have wins over, like, Marcos Maidana, Lucas Matisse, Sean Carras. I mean, so a lot of people don't remember that,
A lot of people forget. A lot of people forget. They'll be surprised.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially what he did to Floyd on top of that,
Yeah.
That makes the win even more credible, too, by him being such a close fight with Floyd.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I remember also watching like the Randall Bailey fight when you captured your second world title. When you fought Bailey, like what was your thoughts on that fight and what were your thoughts on him?
Bailey was a guy that I knew that I couldn't sleep with. I had to be alert at all times. At all times. That was one of those fights where if you go to sleep, you going to sleep.
Yeah.
And the right hand that Randall Bailey has is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I don't know how he does it. It's natural. I guess it's a gift that he has, but once he hits you with one good time with that right hand, you out.
Yeah.
It ain't no coming back from it. So I knew when I fought him, I was going to have to, be smart and get through the fight and get the title, because I didn't want to make no stupid mistake and he catch me like he did Mike Jones.
Yeah, because I remember that was because you fought him after the Mike Jones fight.
Yeah, and Mike Jones was winning that fight, and he just threw him out with that right hand, busted his nose, looked like his nose was even broke.
Yeah.
But he caught him with one shot towards the end of the fight, and it was all she wrote.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I remember that. Also, they were counting him out during the fight. Even the commentators were calling him out. And like you said, he's very dangerous. You can never count out a guy like that.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And also, like, you're very known for having like a durable like chin. I mean, you've only been stopped like once in your whole career, and that's like, and you faced all the power punchers, like you faced Madonna, you faced Matisse, and then Bailey too, so, and Porter. So like guys like that, I mean, that's why like that's why when I wanted you to be in this podcast, because like I still want people to remember you for what you did for the sport,
it's when people tell me a guy hit hard, that don't deter me at all. Because first of all, you got to be able to land that shot.
Exactly.
Second,
yeah.
if if that's all you coming to the table with, I'm gonna beat you.
Yeah.
If you solely looking to hurt me or put power on me, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's why I was always, keen on fighting the toughest guy that they say that was tough. Let me get in there with him. Let me see what he had. With Marcos Medina, I didn't even know if he hit hard because I wasn't trying to find out. I wasn't trying.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if he hit hard, because he didn't catch me with a shot that I can feel. So I wasn't trying to find out.
Yeah, and like in that Madonna fight, in my opinion, I think that was the best performance in your career. Because
I agree with that.
Because you boxed him, you even brawled with him. He couldn't touch you. I mean,
yeah. I thought I knocked him down too, but the ref didn't count it.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I thought I'm calling with that left hand clean.
Yeah, I remember watching that. I was like, "Come on, ref! Like, come on, that was a knockdown!" Like, I mean, jeez.
Yeah.
And also, like with that fight, I mean, out of all the fights you've had, what's the one that you're most like? What was the biggest moment in your career? What's the one that you're very proud of? Like, out of all the fights you've had in your career?
Oh, that's a good question because I'm proud of all the fights I've had, but the most proud, it has to be the when I won my first title with Junior Witter, because you got to think as a kid, coming from the ghettos of St. Louis, society already counting you out because of where you're from. So, all that night, all the emotions, all the blood, all the sweat, all the push-ups, all the sit-ups, all the miles ran, just came rushing that night after after I stopped Junior Witter. It came rushing, and I will never forget that moment because it was a moment that I felt my dad, who passed in 2005 doing my Olympic trials. That was a night that I know my dad felt. So that was the most important night possibly of my life because that really, changed my life. That really was a stepping stone to become a household name.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say the same thing too. Like that was I think for every fighter when they have a first, because that was first title shot. I always believe like that's always going to be the biggest fight of your career, especially when you win your first title, your first world championship.
Yes.
So.
Yes,
yeah.
it's just like and I didn't even know this statistic. Like 3%, only 3% of the fighters out here are going to reach that level of success. 3%, tons of fighters don't even get a chance to fight for the world title. And I don't take that lightly. I know I'm a number that is very small that have made it in the game, and I don't take that lightly because it's hard to win one title, let alone 3. So I don't take that lightly, and it's a very, very important step in every fighter career.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe like those fights, they build a legacy, and you have a legacy, and with all the wins and with all the championships and all that, especially now in your career, are you still motivated as you were in the beginning when you were fighting for your first world title?
Well, I'll tell you like this. And I've been doing a lot of thinking, for my career, and these past 3 years, I have really, really came to realize that I was not in love with the sport at all.
Oh, wow.
I was not, somehow along the way, people around me made me fall out of love with the sport. Somehow, some way, people made me the sport ugly, and I wasn't enthusiastic to go to the gym. I don't want to say, no names or whatever. It just made me feel, I wasn't in love with the sport no more. It was my surroundings, and just, months ago, I've been rededicating my life to the sport. I love what I do. I love to go to the gym. I love to run because in my fights, over these last 3 years, you can see that Devon Alexander is not giving it his 1,000%. Because if I know if I'm down in a fight, I'm gonna have to get up and say, all right, I got to get that round back. My last few fights been I'm just there. I'm not putting my 1,000% in it. I'm just there, and the result of that is me losing 2 or 3 of my last fights. So what I've done is rededicate myself to the sport. I love what I'm doing now. I'm happy. I'm in a happy place, and you're gonna see a difference. And you can quote me on that. You're gonna see a difference in my next fight as opposed to what you've seen in the last few fights or whatever. Because I haven't had that grit, that get up, that go get it. And my wife, understood. And every time I tell people that, like, damn, you know what? That is true. I haven't been having that get up, but I have that chip. You gotta have that chip on your shoulder and not want to lose and want to dominate, and I didn't have it the last few years, but I have it now.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's awesome. I can't wait. I'm already getting chills already. Like, I can't wait for your next fight. So with the next fight, the last fight you trained with Roy Jones Jr. Is for this next camp? Will this be with Roy Jones Jr. or would you go back to like?
It would definitely be with Roy. I'm adding another conditioning coach to my team, and my last fight wasn't nothing Roy did. It was just I wasn't in love with the sport, so I'm just there. When you're just there and just doing it, you're not going to be alert like you would if you got a chip on your shoulder and don't want to lose. You're not going to be there like you're supposed to, like champions do. So yeah, I'm gonna go back with Roy. We're gonna go to work. I'm gonna come out of there in dog shape, and I can't wait. I can't wait because they say you're only good as your last fight. So I can't wait to get back in there and showcase what I'm about to do.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait. I mean, and speaking like with Roy, did you happen to watch his fight with Mike Tyson? And if you did, what were your thoughts on that?
I mean, for me, I knew what it meant. I was telling people all the time, all the while they was promoting the fight. I said, look, because when people say Mike Tyson, Roy Jones fight, they really think they're about to fight. And I try to tell people it's an exhibition, meaning they're not going to kill each other. And I try to tell people that, but they were disappointed in, what went down in the fight. But you got to understand, both of those guys are 50, and no commissioner or nobody finna allow them to go full throttle. The insurance would be too high, and I don't think they thought it was worth it. But all in all, I thought that was good for them to get recognized like that, for them to get in there and do what they love. It wasn't nothing wrong with that. I love to see both of them in there and just squabbling out and doing. They made a lot of sacrifices, so why not?
Yeah, and then like also like in the other card, I don't know if you saw, but there was like Jake Paul was fighting that card. What are your thoughts? Especially like they just announced that Floyd Mayweather is going to do an exhibition with Logan Paul. What are your thoughts on YouTubers fighting professional boxers? Do you think it's good for boxing, or do you think it's bad for boxing?
No, because I got to be careful what I say because I don't want to come off like I'm trying to stop people from making money or stopping people from entertaining. But you got to walk that rope. It's a fine line between clowning and taking stuff serious and real boxing. So I want them to really distinguish what they're doing when it comes to professional athletes, real boxers fighting these YouTubers. I really want them to, let it be known, but this is not boxing at all. I'm not trying to box. It's just for pure entertainment because it's a lot of fighters out here that don't even get the chance to make the type of money that this YouTuber about to make. And this fighter, a fighter dedicated his whole life to the sport. And, in my opinion, I just want them to distinguish what's real and what's fake. And don't get it twisted that real fighters fight for real and this is just a clown show. I don't want them to get it confused about, YouTubers, real fighters.
I totally agree, champ.
I could say a lot more, but I just don't want to, when I voice my opinion about it, on social media, people are like, oh man, there's nothing wrong with them trying. I didn't say it was nothing wrong. I just said don't try to call yourself a real fighter because that's not what you are. You're an entertainer. You ain't trying to entertain, which is good. I mean, entertain, but boxing is the real deal.
No, I totally agree. I feel like there's two viewpoints. I'm not a fan of it either, but in a way, it's cool that they're in it because they're getting, they're helping. It may help the fighters to get more money, but it kills me that they are headlining. Like, you have one of their cards. They had Devin Haney. They had Badu Jack way before them, and I just don't.
And that's where it go wrong at is putting them on a pedestal before the fighter. That's
exactly.
Where you go wrong. That's where you lose me because we train too damn hard. We train too long to get to a point in our career where we are known. And for somebody who hasn't professionally fought at all, maybe one time to catapult to that level, I don't think it's right in my opinion. But
me neither.
Like I said, I don't want to tell people what they can do, what they can't do. So it's a fine line, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, these fighters, kill themselves to be at least in the main event once in their career, and they just jump over them. That's one part that kind of bothers me, myself. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't knock nobody hustle. That's something I try to, be careful about, talking about this stuff because, obviously the YouTuber got fans too out there. So I try to not sound like I'm trying to, shit on somebody, but to me, it's a clown show. I'm a real fighter, so I of course, I'm gonna be biased to the real fighting as opposed to the clown fight. So,
you couldn't say better. It's like you said.
What do I know?
No, I mean, I totally agree. Like you said, you said it. I couldn't say it better. It's entertainment.
Yeah.
And then, especially, when I hear those guys, those YouTubers, oh, I'm a real professional boxer. I'm like, no, you haven't. You haven't been in the road as these guys. You never fought as an amateur.
Get in there with a real fighter. We'll see how long you'll last. The last fight that started with McGregor, he gassed out because boxing is a different animal. That's not MMA. It's not. Everybody can't do that. And when everybody realizes how hard boxing is, when they come to the gym for the first time and start working out, that's when they really find out how hard boxing is.
Yeah, I agree because I did amateur boxing and I wrestled in high school, but boxing to me is still the hardest sport out there. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's not fun getting punched in the face or being there for So it's a different animal. It's a different beast. So
you gotta in boxing. You gotta try to impose your will on somebody without them trying to impose your will on you. So it's kind of hard. It's mentally draining and physically draining. So you gotta have that heart to be a fighter. If you don't have that, you won't go far. No,
absolutely. I agree. But and then also like I want to talk about the other fights too. There's also I want to make a change real quick. So this past weekend, like Errol Spence fought Danny Garcia. I noticed in your Instagram you said both of them are beatable.
Mm-hmm.
If you could elaborate, what are your thoughts on that fight, and what are your thoughts on Danny Garcia's performance and Errol Spence?
And that's another thing. People are so emotional. People are so they get mad about someone's opinion so much, like they are cousins to the fighter or something. Like, this is what I said. This is where I got my logic from. So when I said that meant Danny Garcia for sure did not do what he was supposed to do at all. I saw so many holes in Earl game that he should have capitalized on. Earl was right there. All Danny Garcia had to do was catch and shoot, in my opinion. Earl was wide open. He let him hit him tons of times. He let him just go about just hold for a sec, champ. Hold for a sec.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry about that, my man.
Yeah,
but
it's fine.
But my logic was both of them show holes in that fight. Garcia showed that he don't have the grit to, if somebody getting the best of him, to shift in another gear to go to, okay, that's not working, so let's shift to that. He just did the same thing over and over again. And towards the later rounds, it looked like Spence got tired, and if Garcia had to get up to go, I think he would have made it an interesting fight and possibly to a draw if he would have just fought. And I just think Danny just gave up towards the later rounds, and that's when Spence, in my opinion, was the most vulnerable. He could have hit Spence with anything he wanted to because Spence was right there in his face. So, that's where my logic was coming in at. Both of them are beatable. Not taking nothing from Spence. He had a horrible accident. It came and beat Danny Garcia right off the bat. So I don't want to take nothing from him, but in my opinion, both of them are beatable.
Yeah, because I agree. Because when I was watching the fight, there was moments where Danny Garcia would land a punch and he never followed up. He was never aggressive.
Yeah. Like he normally do. He didn't follow at all. It's like he was just after some rounds. He just said, "Forget it."
Yeah, you're right. I agree. Because I was like, why is he not following up? Why is he not being aggressive? I feel like that's the way to beat Spence. Put him against the ropes and just do work on him. That's why I was and Danny Garcia could do that. That's why I was so frustrated. I'm like, why didn't he do that? He could have.
I thought he hurt Spence one time towards the end of the fight. I mean, you can see, like his daddy said, if he would have did what he did the last little bit of the fight, I think he would have got into a draw, but he didn't, and that's why I said, both of them got holes. In my opinion, if somebody's smart and can stay away from Spence power and don't take too much punishment in the beginning of the fight, I think Spence got two as well. Because you got to be smart. With Spence, you got to be smart. You got. So if he's throwing that wild body shots and all that, you got to be smart enough to catch and shoot or counter him off of that. And Danny Garcia wasn't doing none of that.
Yeah, I mean, especially in the last round, the last 10 seconds, you see Garcia start being more aggressive and he was throwing a lot more punches, and he even put him against the ropes. I'm like, why didn't you do that throughout the whole fight?
Right. That's what I'm saying. So, nonetheless, Spence did what he's supposed to do, and Garcia, he survived, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's true. So with both these guys, what do you think happens with Garcia and Spence after this fight?
I think Garcia gonna keep on. Of course he gonna keep at it. He gonna make another run. I think Garcia exposed himself a lot in that fight, not showing the way that he got that grit, not showing that, man, you got to knock my ass out. He didn't show that. He just was content on being there and making it through the rounds. So, he showed some weakness, in my opinion, Garcia did. Spence, he's going to go forward and he's going to fight, another one of the top guys. I'm just interested to see, when people coming back and firing back at Spence, how's he going to take it? After 6 or 7 rounds, that person still firing off at you. How's he going to take it? And see how then you can see what Spence is really made of.
Yeah, I mean, and then what are your thoughts? Also, I want to get your thoughts. Like, they want to put Spence versus Crawford with the whole idea with Top Rank and PBC. Do you think that fight could happen?
It could if the fighters say it could. Of course, if it could. The fighters say, "I ain't fight nobody else till I fight Crawford." If they really wanted to make the fight, the fighters are the fighters, and it's the reason why the fighters are in control because they say who they want to fight. So if they really wanted to fight, they'll say, "Okay, I'm not fighting nobody else until I fight Crawford, or if I'm vice versa." It can be done. It can definitely be done if the two really, really wanted to fight.
And if that fight did happen, who would be your pick?
It'll be a good fight, but I would have to go with Crawford based on he's more elusive. He's more elusive, and he got both got dog, but Crawford, he's different. He's a different type of skill set. He can do it all. Spence is in your face type of guy. Spence needs you to be right there. And that's what I was telling people too the other day. Spence needs you to be right in front of him. If you're moving, he can't do it. It's nothing he can do. And when Garcia was moving, he did a damn good job with utilizing Spence's power. So if Crawford was to box Spence, I think he would win for sure.
Yeah, I mean, also, my biggest fear also is, I don't want this fight. I think right now is the perfect time to make this fight because they're both in their prime. Especially sometimes in boxing, they do fights in the later of the career when they're not in their prime. So that's why I hope they do it now.
I think it'll happen eventually. I don't think it's gonna get too late, in their career for it to happen. Because, like I said, if they really want it to happen, they're gonna make it happen for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to bring back with the deal with the PBC with the 3-fight deal. What do you with these 3 fights? Do you think this will be like your probably last run for a world title? Do you believe, or do you see yourself fighting?
This is definitely, me personally, I want to look at it like that. I want to look at it like this is my last shot at, because that's when I'm at my best. When my back is against the wall, when I have nowhere else to go, I'm coming out gun blazing and looking sharp and looking on point. So I want to be that. Like, I want to say to myself, this is my last shot at the world title. So, I'm going out full throttle. I'm going above and beyond for this last run. So, I can expect, my longevity is go past this 3-fight deal.
Yeah, and then with these 3 fights, is there what champion, or does it matter any champion in your division that you want to fight, or is there a specific champion you want to fight in your division?
Well, we're gonna do a tune-up first, and then we're going to we definitely Al say he definitely wants to see me in there with a top 10 contender for sure. So I'm gonna get past this one. I'm gonna look good doing it to let people know I'm back. And then we'll see after that. You know me. I don't give a damn who I fight.
No, I agree.
because all of them got holes. Every last one of them fighters got holes in it. So I don't care. I don't care about Thurman. Thurman got holes. I just think I'm more skilled than all of these guys, to be honest. It just so happened I've been around longer than them, and they just not getting success. But when I'm on point and when I'm 100%, I'm hard to beat. Any one of them guys, I'm hard to beat, and that's when I'm trying to get back to.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think you're still the best fighter in the division, I feel like, and with this next fight, you saying it's going to be a tune-up. Is this will be like a 10-rounder, or will this be less than a 10?
Yeah, maybe 10 for sure, probably 10. And then I want to give me again in the summertime with a viable opponent, and then hopefully all goes well. We go for the world title. Hopefully this virus don't get too bad on us and come back all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I know my brother Rich is excited for you to come back. But I want to ask just a few more questions real quick. When you look back in your career, like who was like the hardest puncher you ever fought in your career, and also like the fastest fighter you fought in your career?
The hardest puncher. I would, for me. And not making no excuses, but Lucas Matisse he hit me probably the hardest. That was to my body. When I tell you, and around that time I was struggling to make 140. I've been fighting 140 for years. Years. And my body got way too big for 140, but I squeezed it out and it still made the weight. And I knew that around the 6th or the 7th round, I was going to be dead tired. And lo and behold, I was dead tired in that fight. And I think it's probably the 7th or 8th round. You probably can go back and rewind it. Roy even saw it. Roy said, wow, that body shot hurt you so bad. I don't even know how I ain't fought because it hurt you so bad. But he was probably the hardest person that hit me probably the hardest, which was a body shot. And the fastest fighter, it would say American. I would say American because, he is a fast fighter, but not super fast.
Yeah, and then like, when you look back at your career, was there any fight that, didn't happen that you wish it would have happened in your career?
Can't say that yet because it still can happen.
Nice.
In 2014, Floyd called me out, so I was supposed to fight Floyd, but he chose to fight Berto. So in 2014, he did call me out, but that didn't happen. So, and for his fights I do want to happen, it still can happen. It's still gonna happen because I'm still here and I'm still finna go to work and watch me work. So it still can happen. The Thurman fights. Because when you in my position, all it takes is 2 good wins, and you right there in title contention. So we'll see. Like I said, I want to fight them all. Your question was, who does you want to fight? I wanted to fight them all if I could, but sometimes it don't happen that way.
No, I hope it happens. Especially like I could see you fighting like the Thurmans out there and the Garcias out there. I mean, I think
For sure.
any fight you end up with, it's gonna be an exciting fight for sure.
For sure. For sure. For sure. I'm coming out guns blazing, my man. Coming out guns blazing.
Yeah, I can't wait. And since me and Rich are such we're big fans. Is there anything you could share? Any like cool, fun stories throughout your career? Anything of fight week or anything that the people that don't know?
One story that I try to tell everybody, and it was just such a coincidence. When I was 8 years old, it was such a cool story. When I was 8 years old, when I first went to a boxing gym, I saw a picture of Zuma Nelson, and he had on the green belt. And I pointed to my coach and I pointed to the picture and I said, that is the belt I want. And lo and behold, 20-some years later, that was the first belt I won, was the WBC title. And if I'm not mistaken, I think my coach recorded that and has it somewhere, and that's going to be a legendary video to have. But that was a cool story that I thought of to say, man, how did it come full circle that this was the first fighter that I saw he was posting on the wall at the boxing gym, and I saw that picture and I told him I wanted that green belt. The picture had a Zuma Nelson with the green belt on, and I said I wanted that. And Lord behold, that was the first title I won. So it was meant, in my opinion, it was meant for me to be world champion.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty cool. I mean, it makes me a little bit emotional. Like that's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was so amazing to to see that I said that and all the work and everything come together that night. It was an amazing feeling.
Yeah, and and also like, for, as me like a young fight when I was fighting as an amateur, you're definitely inspiration. I'm pretty sure you're inspiration to a lot of young fighters, and still to this day.
Yeah.
What is your message? Is there anything you could give to any advice to a young fighter that wants to be professional, wants to be world champion? What would you say if you could give any advice to them?
If I can give anybody any advice, don't turn pro for money. Don't ever turn pro for money, because a lot of fighters here make the mistake of turning pro for money and end up becoming a B-level fighter and becoming an opponent. I hate to see that. I just seen that with my own eyes. A guy who's fresh, who has ambition to be a world champion, who turned pro for $5,000, ended up getting knocked out his second fight and become a B-level fighter. I always tell fighters, especially the ones that think about turning pro, if you don't have a team behind you, if you don't have the power behind you, or a person that cares about you, who's going to push you and not going to put you in the wrong fight to get you knocked out early, if you don't have that, do not turn pro. That's always going to be my advice to these fighters, because it can happen quick. You can become a B-level fighter quick in this boxing game, and you don't want to do that. You want to just be patient, and don't never turn pro for money.
No, I totally agree, Champ. That's great advice. We're going to stop for a second. It looks like there's going to be a part 2 in this interview, so we're going to do a quick pause.
Okay.